South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is among them. She is demanding he rescind those federal mandates, and she joins us now to explain. Governor Noem, thank you so much for joining us. Happy almost New Year to you. I love that you're fighting against mandates, but it appears as you are fighting against mandates, Biden is pontificating new ones. Reporters managed to shout a question at him as he took his puppy to the beach there in Rehoboth, Delaware, at his vacation home, and asked him, are you up for a mandate for vaccines if you want to engage in domestic air travel? And he would not shut down that idea just yet. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting to me that the president is so bold in saying that there is no federal solution, yet continuing to impose mandates on the country. And the fact is that he doesn't have the authority to put these mandates in place. That's why South Dakota and many other states and governors and attorney generals have challenged the federal government on this authority in court. That will be heard here in January, and we'll win. We'll win because this president has taken unprecedented action to impose on the liberties and freedoms of the American people, and sometimes the only ones that are left to fight are the governors.
Governor Noem, what would you ask of the federal government at this point? What help does South Dakota need? What help do the states need in fighting this pandemic?
You know, the thing that they're doing the most is imposing restrictions and requirements on us. They need to back off. We really need to be able to take care of our people. We've shown that we do it the best. They've given us resources, which is their role at different times to meet this pandemic head on. But then let us be flexible. Let us do what South Dakota did. Use personal responsibility to trust our people to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. That's why South Dakota's got the #1 economy in the country. We're getting through this together. We've got historic revenues and businesses and people relocating to our state, and it's because people respect the freedom that they can get here for their children and their grandchildren and know that it will be protected.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think that's why the folks of South Dakota love you, Governor, there, and I had the opportunity to visit with some of those folks. Your new grandmother, your mom, we know the impact of this pandemic on the kids, but it seemed like we're prepared to shut down schools again. Can you talk about the impact, mental health, and just being, frankly, behind the rest of the world?
We are, but not in South Dakota, Lawrence, because our kids were in their classrooms. You came to South Dakota months ago, and our kids were in school then. They've been in school the entire time, and they're learning. And they've got the largest gains in growth in their education of any other children in this country because they were interacting with their teachers. They were in the same social settings that they've always been in. They didn't struggle like the other kids did with isolation and being alone like so many during this pandemic. Lawrence, earlier you said something that said you wondered if we'd ever get our civil liberties back in this country. And that's one thing that I have warned about now since way back in March of 2020, is that when you have a leader overstep their authority, especially in a time of crisis, that's when you break this country. And we saw so many leaders do that over the last year and a half. And we've seen that those civil liberties have been continued to be degraded and lost by so many people, and why it's so important that they have a beacon of hope. And I think in South Dakota, what we've done and the decisions that we've done and taken and actions that we've taken here has shown people that when you do protect those freedoms and those liberties, that it really does create more opportunities and a better future for the people that live under that kind of an environment.
Governor, you know, I have a 2-year-old, and it struck me the other day that all she's ever known is COVID, is masks and these onerous restrictions. And, you know, it made me as a mother really averse to when you look over at New York City and you have 5-year-olds that won't be allowed to eat in restaurants if they're not vaccinated. It's simply amazing. What do you think as a freedom-loving governor when you look over at a place like New York City and you see 5-year-olds forced to eat out in the cold if they're not vaccinated?
Yeah, I think it should be a choice of families, of parents and grandparents. I've got a little granddaughter named Miss Addie, or Adeline, but, you know, I look at her face, it seems like for hours, and I'm amazed at how she watches me. The actions that I take, she mimics, she learns from. She's starting to try to recreate some of the facial expressions that all of us in this family do with her when we're spending time together. Our children are missing out on that. They're missing the opportunity to learn and to see faces and build relationships from each other because of what they're doing in this isolated state and having masks over their faces. So if families are in a situation where they need to do something like that to protect health and that makes them really reassured that they're taking the right action and step, then certainly do that. But I don't think it should be mandated by the government. And when you give the government that kind of authority to tell you you have to act in that way, then it's the precedent that they're setting in other areas of your life is really incredible.
Yeah.
So
and to
true.
both you and Lawrence's point, it'll be hard to reclaim that personal liberty, but we have to try. Governor Kristi Noem, great to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.